This guide will teach basic strategies to playing a choke on a traditional 6's 5 control point match. In 5 CP maps, the choke is a narrow passageway where two teams stand at a stalemate between the midpoint and the second point. It is played differently compared to a last hold, as this is not to be hard held and there is always a possibility for the losing team to recover. In this guide, we will go over when it is a good idea to hold, how to set up an effective hold, and know how and when to break a stalemate. Before you decide to hold a choke, you must first decide whether or not it is a good idea to do so. If you hold a choke when you aren't well equipped, it will lead you to be easily destroyed if the enemy has any sort of advantage. This is considered to be playing too aggressively. If you hold a choke when the enemy isn't well equipped, you will lose a great opportunity to push out to secure a better chance of winning. This is considered to be playing too passively. This all depends on information you give to your team and main caller. Use the information you can to infer the best strategy to the situation. I will say that playing too passively is slightly less punishing than playing too aggressively, but in a timed game mode like traditional 6's 5 CP, it is still important not to play too passively. In the situation you are being pushed back, it is a good idea to hold if 1. Your demoman and medic are still alive alongside a soldier and scout. This gives you an ample time for area denial and protection of the flank, allowing for player respawns. If the amount of enemy players surpasses your team's, although you can try to defend, it is probably a better idea to hold last and regroup with your team. 2. Uber is even. Usually the enemy team isn't going to waste an Uber exchange, especially when your combo is still alive, as an exchange will allow time for your team to respawn. This can potentially turn the tide of the battle. If your medic is at a major disadvantage or dead while the enemy medic is alive, it is a better idea to just give up the second point in order to give your team good time to set up last. If you're pushing on the second, it will be a good idea to hold if 1. The majority of the enemy team is still alive, or they have enough to hold both the choke and flank. Pushing up while they have good damage output will cause you to be hurt with heavy damage, as the choke is easily spammable with explosives and sticks. 2. Attempting to push in with an Uber can cause you to be stuffed, meaning that the knockback will stop your momentum and effectively waste your Uber. Even if that's not the case, most of the time the choke is considerably far from where the enemy team might be holding, so Uber timing will be heavily in the enemy's favor. 3. Your team is dwindled and you need time to regroup. If you end up winning a fight and successfully push the enemy team out, chances are that the enemy team and your team have suffered losses. But with the enemy team losing players earlier than yours, if that's the case, you will want to hold, as the enemy team will have sufficient time to regroup and potentially push back with your smaller team number. 4. The enemy demoman is still alive. A good sticky trap can destroy a push if proper caution isn't practiced, and can render a push into a retreat to even your own second point. The most common hold setup for a choke point goes as follows. The combo focuses their firepower at spamming the choke as to prevent the enemy from being able to get close enough to either deal damage or easily push in to effectively attack. The choke will also most likely be trapped by sticky bombs to effectively prevent pushes. The flank, usually consisting of a soldier and scout, will protect a flank route to prevent a surprise attack on the combo from a direction that's not focused. While this setup is common, it isn't always used and can deviate depending on the circumstances or map. For example, on holding defensively on Gullywatch second point, the demoman can be moved from protecting choke to protecting big door with a scout, as the choke is small enough that it can be protected effectively by two soldiers. The demoman, with his ability to cause widespread damage with his stickies, even on a bigger flank size, can shut the flank similarly if not better than the soldier, and with a scout to help him in case an enemy player gets too close. However, what is much more important to consider in holding is to choose whether or not you should hold aggressively or passively. Holding aggressively is when you hold close to the choke and have the plan to defend the second point. This benefits you as there is less space to traverse, you are closer to deal damage to the enemy, and you don't give any significant space for the enemy to aggress with. However, holding aggressively is not always staying nose lengths from the choke. It changes from map to map, as different flank routes can hurt such a position. For example, holding aggressively on snake water means holding near the choke, aka sawmill, while holding aggressively on sunshine means holding onto concrete. To be able to hold aggressively, you must make sure you are able to counter a push and not be disadvantaged significantly, such as being in heavy uber disad, low player numbers, or not having the necessary classes for denial like Demo Man or Flank. Holding passively is when you hold considerably far from the choke and the plan is to slow down an enemy push with minimal loss, but to ultimately give up the second point to prepare a hold on last. This benefits you as you will be given precious time to organize a hold on last, scavenge whatever players are left, and minimize the potency of an enemy's attack by retreating to safety. Holding passively is different on many maps, but the spots tend to be where the defending team has the greatest chance of escaping and won't be where they can be easily flanked. Examples include 1 in battlements on Process and River on Gullywash. There are multiple strategies on breaking stalemates, but first let's focus on what our goal should be. To keep a hold, you must ensure that A. The choke and flank are well protected to prevent the enemy to get past the choke easily. B. Your demo and medic are well protected to keep area denial and heals/uber. C. In the case of a sack or any form of aggression, you can keep your team's defense sturdy and in order to withstand the attack and not to be caught up in any chaos. Therefore, in order to push in, we need to either A. Dismantle an enemy route like the flank to be able to more effectively engage the combo. B. Get an important pick like Demo Man to delete the enemy's area denial and primary damage dealer. Or Medic to have the advantage of heals and uber charge. Or C. To weaken the hold through damage or distraction to be able to initiate a skirmish with the odds in your favor. The goals can be accomplished in a multitude of ways. Here are some common strats. Your team can initiate a sack by sending the roamer soldier to rocket jump and attack the enemy combo. The soldier can attempt to drop the medic or force them to uber. If the soldier is unsuccessful, their attempt can cause enough distraction and damage for his team to be able to fight with slight advantage. This strat is considered a sack, where 1 or 2 players gamble with a slight play that is high risk, high reward by throwing themselves at the enemy to get a pick, while the rest of the team holds back. This strat is the easiest to execute but also the easiest to counter. As such, many teams will be sending consecutive soldier sacks but hold pretty well. Another strat that is used, especially when the holds are taking a long time, is to switch to a pick class like Sniper or Spy. A team will sack a player, preferably a scout, and on respawn have them switch to a pick class. A sniper, with their headshots, can instantly kill an overhealed combo player or a fully charged medic if they aren't aware of the sniper and the enemy isn't respecting sniper sightlines. A spy can instantly backstab multiple unsuspecting players, with the most important targets being demo and medic. However, the spy will most likely be targeted and killed immediately afterwards, which to some is enough of an advantage to make a move. This strat does have a weakness where if you don't have the element of surprise, then the enemy will be made aware that you are missing a vital core class and can take advantage of that. Finally, the third most common strat is to completely eliminate the flank. By doing so, it opens an opportunity for your team to bypass the choke and forces the enemy to now hold passively, as to not get collapsed on from a now defenseless flank. This will give your team more room to enter the point arena and push out the enemy combo. Best case scenario is that your team is able to completely wipe the enemy. However, simply pushing them back a point is enough to increase your odds of winning the round. But of course, there are many more strategies to breaking a stalemate, and by no means am I suggesting you limit yourself to these 3. Much more advanced strategies exist, and it all points to creativity, organization, and execution. Try out other or even your own strategies sometime in a scrim, as you never know what could potentially work. In short, the element of surprise is your best friend.